Good morning. I am Reverend Carrie King, Associate Minister of Unity Church of Overland Park, and I am so grateful for all of you here today. Whether you've come from far away via the amazing ability of technology, or whether you're just around the corner, we are so grateful you're here. And know that I know that you are here by divine appointment. That today you open your heart and your mind to hear what you need to hear today to take you through the next week, the next month, perhaps the next year. So I'd invite you now to just get comfortable. You might want to turn off your ringers or whatever on your cell phones. But before you do that, like us and share on Facebook if you would, please. Know that the reason that we are live streaming continues to be the pandemic and the fact that we want to give a equitable platform to each one of our ministerial candidates. And so today, well, first let me say that we may be back on August 16th, but that's a big maybe right now. The board will be making a decision, I'm sure, on Wednesday, and we will move forward from there. So pay attention, please. Today, I'm most excited that we will be hearing from our third ministerial candidate, Reverend Eileen Stulak. Reverend Eileen will be sharing with us how a loving, caring community can be created, nurtured, and sustained as she shares her message, the beloved community. I'm so excited that Eileen is able to be with us today. So sinking even deeper into the awareness of that Christ within, I bring forward the Christ candle. And I invite you to allow yourself to breathe in and breathe out and sink into that awareness of the Christ. That light that is always present within us. There it is. We are so fortunate to know this truth, that we are united as one community through the light and the love and the energy that is the Christ. So I invite you now to say with me that affirmation, one of Unity's foundational statements of truth. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God, the source of all good. And now I invite you to breathe in and breathe out and join Tiffany as we say our affirmations.
Good morning, everybody. Whether you are joining us from near or far, thank you for being with us this morning. Can everybody join with me together as we say the vision that Unity Church of Overland Park holds for itself, and as it joins with other Unity churches across the world? And together we say, a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. That's our vision for the world. Powerful transformation through shared spiritual awakening. And we continue to hold affirmations as well. We continue on the minister's search, and we've had 2 candidates speak with us already. We have a third one today, next Sunday. And so we continue with this affirmation together. Centered in gratitude and joy, we embrace our new senior minister who co-creates with us a thriving spiritual community. And as we continue to look for our next spiritual home, the space that we will live in as Unity Church of Overland Park, we are grateful to all those that continue their work in seeking this new space. And together as a community, we affirm that we are grateful for our new spiritual home that empowers us to fulfill our mission. Thank you. Reverend Carey.
Thank you, Tiffany. Oh, let's just take a nice deep breath as we go into our opening prayer, sinking into this space where we are, right here, right now. Oh, we have so much to be grateful for. Breathing in and breathing out. Sinking deeper and deeper into that awareness of the presence. Aligning ourselves with all those known and unknown within our community, within our streaming community, within our physical community and beyond. Joined by Spirit, empowered by Spirit, enlivened by Spirit. We open up to the truth that that which we are seeking is present here and now. The perfect and right minister, the perfect and right place to be. We simply need to open in gratitude. Breathing in and breathing out. We see those truths coming into fruition as we use our imagination. Tapped into the mind of God, all of this comes forth. We know that today, as I said, we are all here by divine appointment, and that each one of us will receive that which we need to hear and know and trust throughout this service. Be it through the speaker, through the music, through the inspiration that we simply receive as we sit in the presence consciously and fully. We are so grateful to know these truths, and we release any concerns that we have into mind now, knowing that as we trust, that which we seek is coming forward to us. And for that, we are so grateful. So we say, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. And now I'd like to introduce Pam Enlow as she will present us with a community update.
Good morning. I'm Pam Enlow, the board president, and I'm here again to let you know what's going on with the board. We have a very big job to do. We have a divine appointment, and that is to be the final say for the new minister of Unity Church of Overland Park. And we take that very seriously. I wanted you to know just how we are going to go about that, and just let you know the gravity with which we treat that, the appreciation. So we are going to spend a whole afternoon, August 15th or 16th, we don't know which yet, and we will retreat to a quiet spot like Unity Village. So we will take some significant time, a number of hours, and we will open our hearts and connect to Spirit, much as the prayer that Reverend Carey just said for us. We're going to then, we will have all of the evaluation forms. Thank you for filling those out. And we will go through all of them personally. We are doing that. We will evaluate, then we'll be able to get a really good idea. We will have seen them before, but we'll be able to get a very good idea as to your feelings on the ministerial candidates for the senior minister. Then we will we'll open our hearts at that time after when we read these, and we'll connect to Spirit. We will be at one with each other. We'll recognize all of the community wishes, discuss any options, discuss what we see from those, have a long discussion, and then once again we'll open and connect to Spirit as we discern what we are going to do. And we have some choices. Depending upon the evaluations, we may be able to choose one candidate, or we may need to choose two candidates and have them speak with us again. We're not sure how that happens. It's up to you. So we'll know one name or two names, and we will continue with this, what we consider a divine appointment, because we do take this as the board choosing the senior minister for Unity Church of Overland Park. We do take this very seriously, and I want you to know that all of your opinions are considered. If you have not turned in the minister evaluations, please do that. And also make sure that you do the rankings for after next week, and we will get all those printed up and available to us so that we can take this into our hearts and as a group make a decision, and then we'll let you know. So from this, I am going to, it is such a blessing for us, and I am going to get back to Tiffany, who is going to continue with our many blessings. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Pam. And thank you, as always, to the board for the work that you are doing and the discernment, and for including the entire community and everything. We all, I believe, appreciate the voice. So this is the time in our service when we bless our offering, and we give in partnership to the fulfillment of Unity Church of Overland Park's mission of transforming lives and empowering people to make a difference in the world. So at this time, if you are writing a check, would you please mail it to the address listed on the screen? That is the Unity Church of Overland Park's business offices. Or you can donate electronically. You can go to the website, which is ucop.org, and you can click on the donation button on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, or you can click on the Tithely image in the e-news. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the e-news, every once in a while I hear people say, I don't get the e-news. I don't know how you get the e-news. So it's actually very easy. Go to ucop.org. If you, on that main homepage, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a little form to fill out, and you can get the e-blast every single Friday. And we'd love to have everybody who wants that getting that information. But now, if we could center our attention on blessing our gifts of time and talent and treasure. And together we affirm that divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am joy-filled and grateful. So thank you. And I'd like to introduce Terry Swope as he rocks us into the service singing part of Something Greater. And this will be followed by the message from Reverend Eileen.
We are part of something greater, part of something greater than any one of us could ever be. We are part of something greater, part of something greater than any one of us could ever be. We are all joined together in our hearts, in our minds, and in our soul. We are part of something greater, part of something greater than any one of us could ever be. We are all joined together in our hearts, in our minds, and in our souls. We are part of something greater, part of something greater than any one of us could ever be.
Thank you, Terry. That was beautiful. And we are all so much more part of something greater. I'd like to introduce our speaker today. Reverend Eileen Stulak was ordained as a Unity Minister in 2009, and you may remember her as the Associate Minister of UCOP for 4 years here, not that very long ago. Her background is strong in management and has served her well as a minister. However, it is clear that she realizes there is much more to a successful church as she shares her thoughts about community and connection from the perspective of Jesus. Please open your minds and your hearts as we hear Reverend Eileen talk to us about the beloved community.
Well, Reverend Carey, thank you so much for that introduction, and good morning to everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'd like to ask that we begin by taking some time to just ground ourselves in Spirit's presence, that we use that one power and presence within each of us to make an intentional connection with each other, wherever each of us may be today. And we do that by entering into a time of prayer, entering into some time in the quiet, enter into an experience of Holy Communion with the God of our being. And so I invite us all to just breathe into this present moment right here and right now, this gift of God, and just allow yourselves to rest in this holy space and time. In this moment, your mind becomes quiet, your heart opens, and you become very, very aware of the infinite love of God. A love that is so deep, so pure, so beautiful. A love that reminds you that it is your very essence. It reminds you that you are indeed an expression of God. Resting in these truths, this realization of who you truly are, allow yourself to listen, to hear that voice of Spirit, to feel the inner nudge of the divine. For it is urging you to come. Come. Step into all that you wish to be. Embrace all that you wish to do. Come. It says to you, do not fear. Follow your heart. Be bold. Trust in your faith. And in the moment that you say yes, there is a freedom of release, a welling up of profound joy, and a sense of having joined your hands with the very hands of Spirit. And so take a moment or two now to just be in this experience, and to do so in a time of silence, perhaps affirming your willingness to say yes to this presence of pure and sacred love in you. And so we take time now in the silence. It is this divine presence, your true essence, that calls you to embrace all that you are, to step boldly into all that is yours to do. And as you do, you feel blessed in ways that you could not have imagined before. And you smile, because you know that there are so many more blessings still yet to come. Your heart fills with gratitude and with anticipation. Gratitude for the journey and anticipation of the blessings. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. So good morning once again to all of you. I'd like to begin today by sharing with you that over these last few months, there have been several words that have been coming into my thoughts on a very regular, very consistent basis. And they are words such as professionalism and focus, integrity and authenticity, honesty and transparency, dedication, commitment, patience, spirit-led. And the reason that these words have been coming up for me so often is because they are all qualities that I have witnessed and or been on the receiving end of as they have been expressed to me by your ministerial search team and your board of directors. You know, in our exchanges over these months, whether they be virtually or through emails, I have tried my best to express my gratitude to all of them for their facilitation of this process, which for me personally is one of the best I have ever been involved with. And from what I've heard from colleagues in other ministries, it's one of the best I've ever heard of as well. And I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude to all of you for that as well. Because those folks that serve on those teams, they are people who have been recommended, selected, appointed, and or elected to do so by you. And what that tells me is that all of those qualities are also very active and alive in all of you and therefore throughout the ministry. And that is a very big part of the excitement that I feel today. It really is an exciting time for you and for the church. It is such a joy to be here with you this morning. But along with the joy and along with the excitement in me, I also want you to know how very honored I feel to have been invited into such an important time for you. And so let's just keep on doing some church together, okay? And then there'll be some time where we can gather in fellowship and conversation and community after the service is complete. You may have noticed that our lesson today is all about community, spiritual community, beloved community. And the inspiration for the lesson came to me from a daily email that I received from Richard Rohr. Richard is a Franciscan friar. He was ordained a priest through the Roman Catholic tradition, And he's the founder of the Center for Action and Contemplation, which is headquartered out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Richard teaches a very practical, very progressive form of Christianity. And every Sunday, he sends his subscribers an email that introduces a theme for the week. And then Monday through Saturday, the daily emails then offer teachings and ideas that build upon that theme. And his week of speaking to community was one that really caught my eye, because while I think we could all right now just say and share what community means to us, and very likely has some commonalities rise to the surface between us and amongst us, Richard presented some ideas that I had not seen before, ideas I had not thought of before. And so the underlying thought to keep in mind throughout is that community is all about relationships. It is about creating them, nurturing them, strengthening them, sustaining them. And so when we think about building relationships and building community, the first idea might be that of its foundation. You know, what kind of foundation do we want our community to have and to be supported by? Well, in our context today of a spiritual community, Richard Rohr suggested that we'd be well served to consider laying down a spiritual foundation. And he suggested that one way to do that would be to consider making that foundation Trinity-based. Trinity-based. You know, I imagine that many of you are aware that we can't go look up what Trinity is in Scripture, because it's not in there. It is an ancient theological doctrine that was created long after the books of the Bible had been written. But we're all also very likely familiar with the traditional Christian theology that puts forth that the Trinity is that composed of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then the New Thought Christian theology that puts it forth as mind, idea, and expression. Both, doesn't matter which one you choose or focus on, both speak to one divine presence, just one divine presence that has three aspects or three roles that it plays. And there is a relationship of mutual interdependency amongst the three. You cannot take one away. You cannot separate them from each other. No one role is better than the other. No one role has any power over another. Each relates to the whole equally. Now, Jesus taught about that one presence, that one divine presence, and he taught that it was within everybody, within everyone, and that it is a presence of unconditional love. And it was the basis for how we should live in relationship and in community with one another. And so how does that show up in the community that we wish to create? Well, we could take the view of Trinity that was offered by Richard of St. Victor. He was a mystic from the 12th century. And he saw the Trinity as being, and I quote, a mutual loving companionship of friends, a community. And then we could add in what I think is probably the most basic definition of church that we could find in Scripture through Jesus's teachings, and that is simply where two or three are gathered. And it is in that gathering that all are equal in God. It is in that gathering that there is a striving to connect heart to heart, Christ's self to Christ's self. In that gathering, there is no exertion of power over. In that gathering, there is power with. As Richard Rohr put it, he said, a Trinitarian God is community. It is a completely loving, mutually self-giving, endlessly generative relationship between equal partners. So from there, perhaps the first brick that you'd like to lay upon that foundation that you've just created is one that either has written on it or etched into it, for all. For all. Again, we can go back to Jesus's teachings, and my goodness, whatever boundaries that existed before he came along were completely obliterated once he arrived. Boundaries of culture and status and politics, even within families and tribes. None of that had any bearing on how he lived. None of it had any bearing upon what he taught. In the community of Jesus, you don't see barriers to membership based upon things like sex or race or gender or ethnicity or even one's own personal history. With his teaching that God was present in all people, then all people were seen as being children of God. Each and every person was seen as a living expression, a living extension, if you will, of that one life itself. And it's not always easy for us to see everyone as a child of God in that way. But it wasn't easy for Jesus either. I mean, not everybody engaged with his teachings right away, some not at all. Others just wanted him to fix all their problems so they wouldn't have to do anything themselves. He got frustrated, and I'm sure his quality of patience was tried a time or two or three. But what he modeled in those moments was his undying belief that this sacred presence was in those people, and he kept looking for it until he found it. And then when he found it, he spoke to that aspect of the person. And that's for us to do as well today. And so very often when we do, what occurs is that that person will experience a wonderful awakening to that sacredness in themselves, for themselves. And sometimes it might be for the very first time. Have you ever been seen by someone in that way? Have you ever had someone just look into your eyes and seemingly see straight through to your soul? You know, that moment where there is nothing but a feeling of validation of your being, a beloved creation of a loving God. I have been seen in that way, and it is something that you do not forget. You do not forget that. The memory is one that actually continues to fuel a desire to you then offering that gift to as many other people as you can. It's a memory that helps to strengthen the belief that we have in the oneness that we share with each other while living in the midst of so much in this outer world around us that is constantly trying to pull us apart and separate us. It's not always easy, but the underlying intention of Jesus's community was and should be for any community that we wish to create in our lives, that it be open to everyone and include all those who wish to join. Before someone chooses to join a community, they're probably going to want to know what it's about. And two elements of a community that are often asked about are first its social construct and then the actions that it takes. And today I think the community that is our country is having a very hard time describing those two elements, because on the one hand, we have Richard Rohr, who has described us both as individuals and as a society as, quote, being rather narcissistic and looking out for number one. And that number one, it could be looking out for ourself, our child, our church, our race, our political party, our social status, and so on and so forth. And in that time in that form of social construct, you don't see the elements of society and community advocated by Jesus. You're one without social status, one that is based on communion and friendship with each other, one that's based on a distribution and sharing of goods and materials, one that is based upon coming together in partnership where individual gifts are collectively offered for the greater benefit of all. And for a very long time, we were immersed in the energy of me versus we. And then along came COVID-19. And in a very, very short period of time, it has not only brought the depth of me thinking and all that that has created into a very bright light for us to see, it has also literally stopped us in our tracks and invited us to consider whether that's who we really want to be any longer. It showed up in one place. It showed up in just one place. And then it proceeded to make itself known and wreak its havoc all around this world faster than anybody ever could have imagined. And it has confused a whole bunch of us in terms of what view of society and personal action we really want to have. And I believe that if we want one that aligns with what I would throw into the category of being universal spiritual principles, then I think that when we go to the store, even today, we have to continually ask ourselves, okay, today, am I going to hoard or am I going to share? Businesses need to keep asking themselves, okay, this week, this month, this quarter, do I compete against or do I partner with? We all need to just have this question running through our minds on a daily basis. Am I giving all I can and receiving just what I need? We are all being given the opportunity to make a choice between satisfying our individual desires or maybe even demands, or accepting part of the responsibility that we have for all. For all. A spiritual community whose social construct and programs of action choose all is one where Richard Rohr believes its members to embody three things. And the first is that they let other people get through to them. The second is that they're willing to move outside of themselves. In other words, they embrace their own invulnerability instead of trying to hide it in shame or build impenetrable walls around it. And they also know and understand that they don't know everything, and that's okay, because there are so many other wonderful views and perspectives that can be received as gifts. And then the third embodiment is that of powerlessness. And when we use that word powerlessness in a spiritual context, it simply means that the community in question is one that has as a priority its trust in a higher power greater than its own, and it invites that higher power into partnership into everything that they feel called to do. And right now, I think that we're seeing so much of a Jesus advocated community in action. We can look around, even in the midst of the chaos, and so easily see so much love, so much compassion and creativity and partnership and sharing and commitment and caring being offered, not just in our own towns or in this country, but all around the world. And its catalyst has been COVID-19. But one day this virus is not going to be front and center in our lives in the way that it is right now. And one of my most fervent prayers is that when that one day arrives, we will not miss a beat. We will not miss one beat in choosing to remain in a community of those wonderful qualities that I listed just a moment or two ago. That we will no longer need a catalyst of tragedy to bring them forth from within us and offer them to those around us. Rather, they will emerge in very natural and spontaneous ways. Now, the last element of community that Richard Rohr presented was something that I have a feeling that each of you here today will be able to not only understand, but relate to quite well, because it is the element of transition. Of course you know about transition, a time of changing, shifting, discerning, modifying, pivoting, evolving. A time you've been experiencing together for the last couple of years or maybe longer. And then now there's all kinds of transitions taking place everywhere we look. Changes, alterations, modifications. We can see it all happening in places like our hospitals, in our industry and commerce, in our educational systems, in our farming, in our food service and distribution, and even in our own homes. But whether it is a church or a business or a home, who's doing the transitioning? It's certainly not the structure nor the entity. It's you and it's me. We're the ones who are individually changing and evolving in some way. And these changes are then what we offer to our various communities as our contribution to that collective change trying to come forth through those communities for that greater good of all. And when you really think about it, we can experience wonderful, life-changing transitions every single day. And all we have to do is ask one question before our feet even hit the floor in the morning. And that one question is simply, how can I be a greater expression of God's love today than I was yesterday? How can I be a greater expression of God's love today than I was yesterday? And then allow the universe to show you the way. God's love, unconditional. That which Jesus taught should be the basis for building lasting relationships and thriving communities. It's this love that makes a community beloved. Many of you know that I have some history with this church, but for those of you who are meeting me and me you for the first time today, I can offer that it's been 7 years since I moved from Overland Park to take my current role as the minister in Traverse City, Michigan. The 4 years prior to that, as Carrie mentioned, I was one of the associate ministers at this church. And for 3 years prior to that, I was a congregant here. I was a congregant. I was moved to become a member of the church. I volunteered on different teams. I helped support various programs, activities, and events, and so forth. And in those 3 years, I received so much support, so much love and encouragement as I was traveling my way through my seminary education and training. That's 14 years. And I don't want to talk about any of those years today. I want to talk about 2005, 15 years ago. Now, 15 years ago, I was a relatively newly single professional woman living in Houston, Texas, who got on a plane to fly to Kansas City, Missouri. And I was traveling to Kansas City to participate in some business meetings with my employer at that time, who was headquartered and still is today right down in the middle of the plaza. Now, after those meetings, I had decided that I was going to extend my stay over the weekend and just give myself a couple of days of downtime in the area. I just kind of started to fall in love with the area on that trip. And I decided that Sunday, I was going to go to church that day at Unity Church of Overland Park. So I arrived at the church about 10 to 15 minutes before the service was scheduled to start. I made my way into the sanctuary and found a seat. And before even, I'd say 30, 45 seconds at most had passed, one by one, I started to see people get up and start walking towards me. And one after the other, I began to hear things like, well, good morning, welcome. I'm not familiar with you. Are you new to Unity? I'm so glad you're here. And another one, are you from this area? Oh, you're not. Where are you from? What brings you to town? Well, shoot, it's so nice of you to have joined us this morning. Would you like a welcome packet? It gives you so much more information about the ministry. Have you seen the campus? I'd be happy to give you a tour once the service is over. I sure do hope that you can join us for some time of fellowship that we have after the service. I can show you where that is if you don't know where it is. And really, I'd like to know more about Houston if you've got the time. In less than 10 minutes, before the service even had a chance to begin, I experienced the unconditional love of Spirit. I was a stranger that was being welcomed as a member of the family. I felt more seen, truly seen at that Christ level than I had ever felt in my life before. I witnessed that selfless giving of oneself in service to another multiple times over. that act of joyfully expressing how one can take responsibility for another, if only for an hour. You see, I had walked into a Jesus advocated community and saw it in action, felt it in action. And it had only been 4 months since having moved through a time of transition and having welcomed in a new senior minister. Throughout these past 15 years, that morning is the strongest of all the memories I have of this church, this community, of you, its people. And today I can tell you with absolute certainty that I now know that geographical distance cannot erase that memory. I also know that I don't have to be a minister of this church in order to sustain that memory, because it is a memory that was born out of a community that had been built upon a foundation of God's love, of putting God first, and of seeing and honoring that divine presence in everyone who walked through the doors. That's what makes the memory last. And that's what being the beloved community that you are is all about. God bless you. And now we are all going to be blessed to receive once again the gift that is Terry Swope. He's here to offer us another song, one I'm told that he has written and composed himself. And I just love the title of this song. It is Hooray for Everything.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Got a little song for you. Yeah. It's called Hooray. Hooray for everything. When I woke up today, I said hooray for everything. And when I go to sleep, grab my soul to keep, I pray hooray for everything. Hooray. The one thing I have learned, as far as I'm concerned, today is everything. I accept the bittersweet, that's what makes it all complete. I say hooray for everything that I've been given. This very life I'm living is a masterpiece I can't control. I feel that real connection, that sense of true perfection. I guess the journey is more important than the goal. So I say hooray. Hooray for everything. I say hooray, 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 hooray. Sing it with me. Hooray, 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 hooray. I said hooray for everything. When I woke up today, I said hooray, I said hooray for everything that I've been given. This very life I'm living, this masterpiece I can't control. Oh, but it's got soul. Hooray for everything, yes. Hooray. Hooray.
Wow. Terry Swope, you wrote that song. Hooray for you and hooray for everything and hooray for Eileen Stulak and an incredible Sunday message. Wow, just in a lot of gratitude right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody. It's just been a great morning. So we have some announcements. The first one is that after the service, there will be a Zoom meeting, kind of a coffee time, so that anybody who wants to can come check in with Reverend Eileen and ask questions and get to know her a little bit better. And so listed on the screen in front of you is the information for the Zoom meeting. And if you're not quite quick enough to write it all down, you might just take your cell phone and take a quick picture or a screenshot of this page right now. And then you can join everybody about 11 o'clock. And also, everybody, I guess, has given some feedback about wanting to make sure that they can read the candidates' resumes and also to give feedback. So now, in the Friday's e-blast or the e-news, a link to each of the candidates' resumes is available. And if you go to the home page of Unity, well, excuse me, let me back up. If you're on the e-blast and you scroll all the way through the candidates, at the very bottom, there's a pink section there. And I don't know if you can see this, but well, probably not very well. So I'll stop doing that. But there's a pink section, and embedded in the pink section on number 1, it says Ministerial Candidate Evaluation. And if you just press on that on your phone or click on it with your mouse, you'll get directly to the candidate feedback forms that everybody is collecting, that the board will be reviewing in the time of retreat that Pam talked about earlier this morning. If you don't get the e-blast and you go directly to the website, then up in the menu section, you can click on Media and Resources. And when that clicks on, then you'll see a form that you can click on to give feedback for the candidates. You can give feedback every week for each of the candidates. So sorry that took so long, but I felt like it was important to announce it here. UCOP Kids will be having their weekly Zoom meeting following the service. So for more information, check out the UCOP Facebook page. Kelly Corbett posts the information there on how to join. And the Uniteens are encouraged right now to join the Q&A session with Reverend Eileen Stulak following the service through Zoom. So we really would like to have these young people's opinion. This is their church too, and we want to make sure that they have a voice and can get to know the candidates. Also, please note the change in the interconnection meditation schedule. We will ask you to join in on Mondays through Wednesdays and then on Fridays each week at 11:30 on Facebook for Interconnection. It's a 15 to 20 minute meditation to turn within and connect with Spirit. So tomorrow at 11:30, please join Reverend Carey for a time of interconnections. And then next Sunday, August 9th, join us again via Facebook live streaming when we hear from our final ministerial candidate. This will be Reverend Crystal Muldrow, and she will present her message, Open and Shut. So again, Reverend Crystal will be joined by then Kelly Hunt as the musical soloist next week. And then we may be meeting back in person, but we also may continue live streaming. So please stay in touch via the newsletter and the website and Facebook as the board makes decisions about whether or not we will be returning to Abdallah Shriners Temple on the 16th or not. But either way, we'll have guest speaker Deborah Baker. So she'll be presenting her message, God is a horse. So you need to come join for God is a Horse. And she will be joined by soloist Pancho Javier. And so again, check out all of the information on the e-blast. And as always, if you are in need of prayer support, please leave a message at the Unity Church of Overland Park's offices at 913-649-1750. It's extension 103, and Reverend Carrie will give you a call back. And I noticed that Terry Sturgeon, even while signing, put on her prayer chaplain stole. So she's reminding us through a visual there that we have prayer chaplains that are holding our prayer needs as always. And now I'd like to introduce Terry Swope again as he sings us into Blessed Always.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
Thank you, Terry. And let's remember that we are blessed always. And please say with me our unity affirmation, the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And then please say with me our mission for Unity Church of Overland Park, which I think is going to come up. Oh, there it is. Okay. Unity Church of Overland Park transforms lives and empowers people to make a difference in the world. Amen. I just want to remind you to be sure and join us for Q&A with Reverend Eileen after the service at www.zoom.us/join. The ID number is 516995. Go forward this week and know that you are part of a beloved community and you are an essential part of that community. God bless and have a fabulous week. Thank you.